Hello everybody and welcome to This Nintendo Life episode 325. My name is NBZ. I'm definitely not out of breath because I was running all the way home because I was late for recording this podcast. It's fine. I am, however, alive, which is a good thing because I could have not been alive, maybe. I don't know. So I messaged you, Bally.
When was the last time you had a run of this length?
Well, I didn't actually run. I actually did walk. I just walked with pace. So I was on the train coming back from town, and
the tube. Everyone calls it the tube, but you call it the train.
Yes. Okay. Look, yeah. I'm trying to appeal to the international audience we have, Bally. You know, these people won't understand our lingo, our language. So I've got to.
Well, we've got listeners in London who will feel very let down by your lingo on this. So yeah, look, I'm sticking up for them.
As we all know, I sit on the side of the fence where I'm mostly American and like partially British. Okay, so we all understand this. So let's call it the underground, all right? Let's have a compromise.
There we go.
Because I'm pretty sure that the New York. If I said subway, that would be a step too far. But if I say underground, then that kind of like gets across the idea to people internationally who also.
I don't know whether New Yorkers stick closer to subway or underground, but I reckon you're getting.
I think subway probably is more common there, is my guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, that implies something. On the way back, and I was like, yeah, good, gonna get home in time, all that good stuff. And then it stops, and it's like. Some fucking idiot had pulled a plunger, and I don't know what that means, but apparently it means the train has to stop and they have to reset, whatever. Anyway, I'm sitting there.
Is it like the emergency plunger, the emergency?
Yeah, emergency whatever thing that like stops you from going or whatever. Some idiot has done this, and then I'm sitting there, and then all these fucking like people start running past, and like saying stuff loudly, and then they start walking backwards, and then. They go somewhere, I don't know what happens, people are just sitting there, and then this girl starts screaming, and you hear a fucking bottle shatter, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? And so immediately I like start moving down the train. Everyone's standing up at this point. Everyone's like, what the hell is going on? I was like, I need to escape this fucking train. Don't want to be in this train when shit is going down. And so I try and exit the train, and I go towards this like exit, which is also blocked off, and I'm like, fuck. But the only way out of this train station is the side where all the shit is going down and some stuff is happening. I have no idea what's happening. There's a bunch of people just crowded around.
How big is the crowd of passengers you're part of right now?
Oh, a lot. Lots of the entire train, basically. Everyone in the train is like, what the fuck is going on? Someone's screaming and the bottle has been smashed.
But people were getting off the train regardless of it not being their stop.
Oh, people weren't getting off the train. They were just like tipping their head out the train to try and see what was going on and try and like figure out the situation and what's happening. And anyway, I actually have no idea what happened. But you know, I was just like standing there for a long time being like, what the fuck is going on? And you have that like fight or flight response of like, I don't know what to do. I need to get out of here, but there's no way for me to get out of here. So I'm just going to stay at the back of this train and like hope that nothing bad happens, basically. I don't know what the issue was, but eventually, they clear people away and they tell them to get in the train and the train moves on. And I was like, thank God I'm out of that situation. Something was happening on the platform. I don't know what. I don't know if I saw blood or anything, but there was like a smashed bottle on the ground I saw after everyone moved back in. So I don't know, some shit was going down basically, as is the case usually in London. But yeah, when stuff like that happens, it's always the situation of like, fuck, I'm gonna die. You know, you just have that thing of like, oh, this is how it happens. Well, I'll just on a train and some stupid person decided to do a thing, and that's it. I'm dead now. It's just like, yeah. I know Dan Riker talked about his thing on the plane recently of like,
that was kind of scary. Yeah, that
was pretty fucking harrowing, right? And you're just, I think it's the part of it where it's like you have no control over the situation of like, well, I can't do anything. If something crazy happens, well, that's it. All right, So thankfully I'm here and all good. So I don't think it was too crazy, but
I do have slight nightmares about being in situations like that when I'm with my kids and just like, where do you go? How to protect them?
The worst thing is there was a kid in one of the carriages and like with their mum, and the mum was just like, you just put our hands over our ears, honey. And I was like, oh God, this is so bad for that child. Like it's like a trauma response basically type thing, isn't it? And that's super rough. So yeah, hopefully that child won't remember that and scar her for the rest of her life. So should be fine, I think. But anyway, I managed to get back kind of in time. So the train moved. Basically, the train stopped at another station, and then I had to get off and go over to the other side because they basically took it out of commission, just to sort out whatever shit was happening. So got a second train.
And no one announced anything to you at any time.
No, they were just basically like, everyone get back on the train. The train's leaving now. It's like, okay, cool, I guess.
Okay.
But I think they stopped trains going to that station now because of whatever had gone down. So they probably had to get police in.
Did you look up on Twitter or anything what might have happened?
No, I probably should. I should probably have a look and check and see if
what was in
anything
the
crazy
station,
happened.
unless you don't want to dox yourself. But
yeah, I won't dox myself. I'll tell you afterwards.
Sure.
So I won't dox on air. But yeah. Anyway, that was nice, harrowing for my evening. So yeah, good time. Anyway, hello. We're here on this podcast this fine evening to talk about video games. It's great, it's lovely, it's nice, and it's so much better than being stuck on a train. Although, are there any train? I don't think there's any train games in this Nintendo Direct. I think Dench Attack was in the last one, wasn't it? So
yes.
Didn't have any showings on this one in particular. Bally, what are we going to be talking about on today's podcast?
For this first segment, we're going to talk about the Nintendo Direct. If somehow it managed to fit in with our recording broadly, which is very nice.
Kinda, still a week late, but it's better than, being 2 weeks after the fact, which is generally what happens. Nintendo curses us and puts it out right after we've just recorded an episode. So yeah, this time it worked out okay.
And for the second segment, we're going to talk about a bit of Mina the Hollower. You've beaten it. I'm just under halfway, so those are going to be some spoiler-free thoughts, and then the idea will hopefully be that I beat it for next time, and we'll go full spoilers next time for the whole game. We'll cover that.
Yeah, I didn't expect to. I expected you to be further ahead than me
I've just
when
been
we talked
so
about
busy.
it.
We've had guests, and I've been in.
No. What I'm saying is, I was only like 4 hours in, and then I had I took 2 days off of work because of TwitchCon, so I had days in lieu to take, and I just played Mina for 2 days straight. Is what I did. So that's why.
Nice.
That basically the explanation as to why I've surpassed you and finished the video game is because I just sat in here and played that video game nonstop until I finished it. So yeah, we'll have some thoughts on that, and yeah, that'll be good. Great. Let's start things off with the Nintendo Direct that happened, the big summer June Direct that everybody was awaiting patiently, or many not so patiently, I would say. But yeah, we're here with it, and it's come out, and everyone's just very normal about it, and they're like, "Yep, yeah, it was a good Direct." No, of course, everyone's like all over the place with it. But Bally, the things on this podcast that matter are our own opinions.
Yeah.
So, how did you feel about the Nintendo Direct?
I'm pretty damn positive. I think that there is a lot here for everyone. I think it is very good for the JRPG fans. I think it is good for some of the slightly deeper cuts. But I also think, as much as people can moan about kind of, Nate the Hate revealing things, I think Nintendo are their own worst enemy. I think there are things that are in this Direct that we already knew about that I would argue there's maybe not incredible great reasons why we need to know them ahead of time. So games like Star Fox and Splatoon, both games aren't out yet. If they had been revealed in here and we hadn't known about them first, I mean, obviously Nate the Hate spoiled Star Fox as well, but that could have added a bit more pop to like kind of reveals of this Direct. So I think that just saying, oh, Nate the Hate spoiled it for everyone, I think undermines the fact that Nintendo also spoiled quite a lot of it for everyone. We can get to thoughts on Ocarina. I think everyone has strong opinions one way or the other on that, including myself. But yeah, I think this is strong overall. If you're only into the top tier Nintendo stuff, I can appreciate that there's not a whole amount here. But anyone who follows Nintendo a bit more broadly, likes their JRPGs. I don't even like Xenoblade that much, but I really like some of the JRPGs shown off, like especially at Final Fantasy Resonance. That looks really cool. So I think there's a lot here, and I think it's a B+ overall. Pretty good.
Nice, yeah. I very much enjoyed it. Of course, any Nintendo Direct that gives me a new Xenoblade is immediately just like good enough for me, like all I need is someone to say there's a new Xenoblade and I'm happy basically. So yeah, obviously I think, like you said, and I think we've talked about this non-stop on this show. If you go back and listen to us talk about Nintendo Directs for the last 10 years, most of the time we're saying, well, if you don't like JRPGs, then, because that's kind of most of what Nintendo's presentations tend to be. I think it's because they have partnerships with Square, who so often are creating a lot of these, and also like other like smaller companies. Like there was, I think part of the Spotlight Sizzle Reel revealed a brand new Atelier game. That obviously that's a huge series for a bunch of people as well. And so yeah, there's definitely There's a JRPG YouTuber I follow who was like, if you're a JRPG fan, that was a 10 out of 10 Nintendo Direct, and I fully agree with that. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think also, and this is the thing that gets lost with so many people online, is because all of us own everything and we play on everything, blah, blah, blah. There are so many like current gen games coming to Switch 2, and just filling out that lineup of the catalog essentially to make it so that not only are we getting more stuff that's like day one, right? For example, we didn't talk about it on this show, but on our Patreon episode, talked about Final Fantasy VII Revelation, and that is day one on Switch 2 now, right?
Yeah.
So like we're getting the big third-party games day one, and we're getting kind of like going back into the back catalog and digging up stuff like Devil May Cry 5 or Lies of P, right, and putting it on here, which is very cool. So I do think that it's very kind of heavily weighted towards also Japanese publishers as well, because those are the ones that Nintendo tend to have good relationships with. But yeah, I think any direct that announces an Ocarina of Time remake is pretty impressive in my mind. Yeah. So I think overall a good time. So let's jump into it, Ballard. Do you want to start with Ocarina? Should we go for the jugular?
We're going to start with Ocarina. That's what everyone wants to hear about.
Yeah.
Do we need to put up our hands and say we might have been wrong, MBZ?
No, we're not. I refuse.
Okay, is this a more substantial remake than we give credit for? Now, let me try and quote ourselves, where we broadly said this is getting the Star Fox treatment. This is Ocarina of Time, up-resed, everything's shinier. They're going to emphasize stronger looking cutscenes, might be more voice acting, who knows?
Yeah.
But that's basically the treatment it will get. Hyrule Field will remain the same shape and size, was our broad opinion. Are you still of that opinion?
I think so far, yes. And I think partially it is to do with the setup and the framing, right? The only single shot we have is Link lying on his bed, which is the iconic opening of Ocarina of Time, right? This boy lying on his bed, he gets out of bed, goes down the stairs, gets his fairy, blah, 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 you run around the woods, it's great. And the framing on this is 1-to-1, right? Like, people have been putting up images of, here's the original, here's the 3DS version, here's the Switch 2 version, and it's the exact same. Now, I think you do that because you are signaling to people, this is the game that you want, right? This is the thing that you have played before. We're making it look much different and more modern, but it is ultimately going to be the same video game. And that is my feeling on it. I think also there is realism bent here that I would argue our prediction was they're just going to do Star Fox with Ocarina of Time. And I would say so far that's spot on, because they are just going heavy into the realism. There is no stylization here, in my opinion.
I'm leaning that this is more than our prediction. And I think maybe it's the most Nintendo thing ever, but I think you don't do this crazy minimal reveal if the big reveal come, let's say October, November, whenever they show more of this game, is, okay, and then here's Hyrule Field and it's the same shape but up-resed. Like, I think that would be the biggest, like, what do you call it? Like, it'd be the biggest letdown, the biggest, like, heart drop moment watching a Direct if it looks all up-res and shining, and let's say Kakariko Village looks incredible, the Deku Tree looks incredible, but then you get to Hyrule Field and it's like, oh, like it's just the same size but a bit smoother. And I'm convinced that this is more. I think this is a more fundamental reworking, and if it wasn't a more fundamental reworking, I'm convinced they would have shown off more and been a little bit more willy-nilly with what they had to show, because I think they're really holding like the cover back on like revealing any more of this game, which in and of itself feels incredibly strange considering this game is supposed to come out this year. Like, this has made me a lot less confident this game is even going to come out this year. Like, I think that, sure, when was the last time Nintendo revealed something so cloak and dagger when it's supposed to be coming out in the same year? Like, I just don't think they do it normally.
So a couple of points there. I think what you're saying on the changing Hyrule Field, all that sort of stuff. My opinion is that it will look largely the same. It may be like slightly expanded to feel bigger, but I think structurally it will be quite similar. I think the difference there...
You're slightly changing your stance then in that case.
No,
larger. But...
No, that's not. Come on, let's be clear here. I think the truth of it is that Ocarina of Time is a game defined by load screens all the time. So you're going towards the Zora area and you have to like go through a load screen to get to that section. Obviously, it's fully seamless now, right? And that is a way in which you can make it feel like a larger space, even though it isn't actually that big a space, is that kind of seamless transition between areas. And I think that is probably what they do to do it. If they did want to do enhancements, right, if we're talking about enhancements, then I could see a world in which those in-between areas get fleshed out potentially a bit more, you know, if that's what they were going to do, and that's like a addendum. But I don't think we'll be in a spot of opening, you know, to Breath of the Wild size world. Like, I just don't think that's what they're going to do. I think it will be
I don't think it'll be anywhere
closer.
near that size. I just think that they will fundamentally
expand it
a bit more. Yeah. Are you surprised how much they revealed?
No, I'm not, and I do think people being like, oh well, maybe it's not going to come out this year. I think the way that they are doing this is very deliberate, and it is definitely tied into the fact that we also have a Zelda movie coming. It's inevitable that they're going to do a Zelda Direct at some point in time, and it will be a 40th anniversary Zelda Direct, and you get the trailer for the movie, you get Ocarina of Time deep dive, and maybe one other thing, right? They could do another weird spin-off, like, small thing that's announced as part of that. Maybe they do, you know, like, what was the other thing they did for, like, Mario's 40th, where they had a bunch of, like, merch that they talked about? I don't know. There's stuff that they can do where... I think maybe it was Pokemon, actually, for their anniversary, that Pokemon did a bunch of... And they usually do that in their Pokemon presentations, so that's not surprising. So maybe it'd be a bit more surprising doing it here. But I think they announced Alamo in a Nintendo Direct, didn't they? So they've done weird hardware announcements. So I think it's going to be bundled together as a thing. I think probably the pace of it, right, is we probably get a better Zelda trailer in, like, a September Direct, and then we get a October Legend of Zelda Direct, is my feeling. So you're going to get 2 more bites of the apple of Ocarina of Time. And I think the unfortunate thing here is, like, obviously Nintendo, not in control of these leaks, obviously knew that it had been leaked, but when you're making, and I think all these people being like, oh, why didn't they show more? It's like, when you're making these presentations, I don't think people understand the longevity, like the lead time, I should say, on, like, making these assets and having something ready to show, right? When you're making an asset for a show like this, you have a lead time of like 3 to 4 months, you know? And this leaked, 3 to 4 months ago?
Okay, but come on, wait, slow down. When was the last time Nintendo revealed something that was as top tier Zelda with this amount, with a lead up time of what we're in? We're in June now, with a release date of, let's say, middle of November. Like, when was the last time that they revealed this small, minute amount? Like, my point is, like, this just feels like a February Direct. You would normally see a lot more by the summer point. Like, I do think that is unusual, regardless of the amount of lead time required to make trailers.
But I think the thing for Nintendo is they don't need to show more, because it's Ocarina of Time remake, right? And I think this is the unfortunate thing with the way that is rolled out, is that people expect more because they already know Ocarina of Time remake exists because of the leaks.
But then let's stop pretending that the Treehouse Live has any impact whatsoever. You know, like, they're not... Sure, they might do another Treehouse Live come the Zelda Direct in, let's say, October. But, like, will there be as many eyes on there as now? I guess probably, because it's Zelda, as you say. But, like,
I don't really see what point you're making here, because I think the thing from their perspective, right, is the coverage they got is all they need for Ocarina of Time. They can show more later, and they will still have an active audience. People are still going to watch it. It's not like people aren't going to pay attention to Ocarina of Time. I think that
I'm worried they're setting themselves up for a fall, because unless we see, like, big expanded Hyrule Field and there is a lot to see, it's just going to look like Legend Ocarina of Time up-resed, and I think that could really fall flat on its arse come October. Like, I think that's what makes me very confident that there's more to this than just up-res 3DS game. I agree, they don't need to do any of this marketing. It's Zelda, it's Ocarina of Time, it's arguably the biggest game launch of all time that you could put alongside something like a GTA 6. I totally agree. But I think that it's very, very strange to not see more for a game that is coming out in, what are we saying, 5 months, 4 months? Like,
yeah, it'll be November most likely, right? I think it's basically the only game, like you said, that would go up against Rockstar, and I think 100% Nintendo will put this out 1 week before GTA 5 comes out. No question in my mind. They absolutely
6.
have the balls. 6, sorry. God damn it, Jesus. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Would I like to see more? Sure. Did they need to? No, absolutely. And the point I was making about lead time on this stuff is like people are like, well, they after the leak happened, couldn't they have just pivoted and done it? No, this stuff takes so long to do. Like this stuff is locked in so much longer before than you think it is. Right? As someone who's worked on these showcases, it's a long fucking lead time. And so they can't just suddenly be like, oh, we're just going to change this asset and just come up with something new, because their plans are, and Nintendo are very, very rigid when it comes to their plans, right? They know exactly what they're doing and they're doing it. And the other thing also is they act like leaks don't happen. I don't think they want to acknowledge it. And I think they also kind of want to give a bit of a fuck you to leakers, in a sense of like, okay, yeah, you said it, but like, because that, you're only getting this now. I don't know. There's a weird,
you think they've done the reverse?
I don't know. Like, there's a weird vendetta to it. I could imagine them doing to some degree. But yeah, I think. What do you think of how it looks? Because I think that's part of the conversation that's happened.
I'm very pleased. I know you're less hot on the art style, but I'm very pleased by the art style. I'm pleased by the whole reveal. I need to get my opinion clear. I was worried that it was just going to be a one last thing, and oh yeah, it just looks like an up-res 3DS version, and we saw a lot of the game. And everyone's like, well, that looks really great, and sure, I'll buy it, but it was very predictable. This is a lot less predictable for me. Like, if you just showing Link on his bed, it's like, wow, that's so minimal that they must have so much more to show that they are, like, they've got the excitement going in terms of, like, yeah, we've got like the first Breath of the Wild reveal, like it was like, what more to this world is there if there's these walking spider-like creatures and they shoot lasers, and we had to wait yonks for like more information.
So long.
On that.
Oh my god!
But that reveal was obviously worth it. They're treating this the same way. Yes, it's compressed into like a less than a year, obviously, but like, I think there's a lot more that they are going to reveal in an October Direct. Otherwise, would have made more sense, as I said before, to just do. Yeah, it's Ocarina of Time 3D remade, remastered, looks up res, and we're going to give you 40 minutes of it in a Treehouse Live in June. Like, that would be a lot more predictable, safe Nintendo. In my mind, a little closer to our prediction. This feels a lot more bold, and I've compared the art style to the Goma fight with Link on the Wii U reveal before Breath of the Wild was even a thing.
The Wii U Zelda tech demo.
The Wii U Zelda tech demo, exactly. Like, I think it's harkening back to that, and that's arguably closest to like Twilight Princess, and Twilight Princess was trying to look like Ocarina of Time, and in the moment, Ocarina of Time was as realistic as they could manage at that point in time. So like, I think in that sense, it's the truest remake you can think of. So yeah, I'm very happy with all that. I think there's more to this than meets the eye, and that's why it was so minimal. Interesting.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I think I'm still sticking to it's going to be relatively straight-laced, but yeah, we'll find out and see. Because I don't know. There's something about Nintendo's conservatism that is like always in the back of my mind of like, are they willing to like mess with a classic? Like, are they actually going to go there and make like significant changes? I would prefer them to, frankly. I think I actually find it far more interesting when the Final Fantasy VII or Resident Evil style of remake happens, because the original exists. We have the original twice, in fact, because we have the 3DS version, which is like the perfect version of the original that still exists. And so if it is the same again, then it's like, well, it's not that interesting, really. So yeah, I hope that you are correct on this basis.
I mean, I think that opening with it's essentially like a Wind Waker style opening, the tale of the world, but like obviously narrated in this very the production was very Breath of the Wild ultimately. Like, I think
do you think that narration indicates that we will have voice acting as part of this?
Yes, but Link is mute, I think would be my guess.
That makes sense.
I think that will be. I think this game is a lot of more of a bigger deal than I was previously thinking, and that excites me. And part of that is the voice acting.
Yeah, I definitely need to see more of like Link and the world, because I think that just the snippet that we got, when I just saw Link lying there, right, I just thought that he looked like a child with a man's head on top, and it just looked quite odd to me. Like, he just looks a little, he looks a little uncanny, like the way that his head is so large on his body. Like, something about it looks like he's a little.
I mean, I've got a son with a very large head, and I think he looked a lot like my son. honestly. So yeah,
just making fun of Bally Jr. By
he's got a big noggin. So yeah, I can see
but I think you know what I mean. Like it feels like his head and his face looks like it has adult proportions and like facial features versus his body that's like this little guy, you know? So he kind of, I don't know. I just need to see him in different contexts and what he looks like, because I just am concerned that he looks like a little bit of a weird stubby adult, you know? And I hope that's not the case.
I think he's skewing a lot younger than young Link would be in my head.
Right. In terms of like the body size and everything.
Well, yeah, if this kid lying down stands up, he's like just about 4 foot tall. Like he's really short, really young. Like how young is young Link meant to be in Ocarina of Time?
Ooh, it's a good question. He strikes me as like 12, 13,
right.
Maybe.
This kid looks a lot younger than 12, 13 in my view.
Yeah.
In my view.
Maybe this is like an even further back in time scene of him when he's like 4 or whatever, and then we'll eventually cut forward to when he's actually grown enough. I don't think that's the case, but yeah, I do like the kind of Kokiri kind of like, not armor that he has, but like the clothing stuff I think is quite cool, with like the kind of like leaves on it and everything. There is just a shade of Nintendo hire this man, which is like a kind of a meme that goes back to like people making Unreal Engine versions of Zelda, which look really rough, and like people think, oh, this is what Zelda, modern HD Zelda should look like, and it just looks really fucking bad. So there, I just get shades of that, and fully expect this to look fantastic, blah blah blah. I'm sure it will. I think just the select amount of footage we have, it's just a little uncanny for me, and that is worrying me slightly, but we'll see. They didn't show anything else, so who knows what it's going to look like in actuality.
I do think like the level of detail you're getting on his clothes, his hair, the bed, like the curtain to the side,
the Triforce glowing on his hand,
the leaves. If that level of detail is applied to the whole world, like that also backs up my view that this is a much greater fundamental remake than first thought. Like that is if you're applying that level of detail onto Nintendo 64 assets, like that's a huge job. Like this is a lot more fundamental in my view.
Do you have thoughts on the fact that it is just called The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time? No remake, no remaster, no HD, just Ocarina of Time.
I think that backs up my theory further, arguably, that like this is more fundamental than just what was Wind Waker called on Wind Waker HD remake.
It was Wind Waker HD.
It was just called Wind Waker HD.
No, it wasn't a remake. It was just HD, and then Twilight Princess was also Twilight Princess HD, I believe.
Right.
Basically.
So this is the first HD version of Ocarina of Time, and they're not calling it HD, which I think does imply that there's a lot more to this.
There's more happening. Yeah.
Well,
fingers crossed. We'll see. I'm sure it will not be long before we find out more, because it is definitely going to come out this year. I think that's... I know that you were like, oh, maybe it's not because it's, we've seen so little, but I think it's very deliberate from them. I think they are holding things back, and we'll get a deluge of information, and this is their big holiday game. And I think it's going to be huge.
Who's the guy who guests on Giant Bomb? I've forgotten his name.
There's lots of guests on Giant Bomb.
One of their guests. He was saying that Nintendo have a habit of releasing their big winter game like the week before Black Friday. And
correct, yeah.
This year, the week before Black Friday is the 26th of November, which is the release date of GTA 6. So GTA
is the 19th of November.
Have I got it written down wrong? 19th of November. I've got it written down as 26th.
19th is GTA 6.
Okay, right. So 19th of November, GTA 6, and that is the week before Black Friday, which apparently is when Nintendo traditionally releases their big holiday game. Therefore,
it traditionally is. I don't know how much they've done it in recent years, but like I remember being at university the day Skyward Sword and 3D Land came out, because they both came out on the same day, and I went downstairs to my reception and picked up my copy of both from the delivery box, and I remember enjoying that weekend greatly, jumping back and forth between Skyward Sword and 3D Land. And they released like slightly apart in the US, but they were both on the same day in the UK, and that was that November time basically. So pretty consistent.
I'd like to, if this does come out November 19th, which I think there's quite a decent chance it does, I'd love to just see some like the fly on the wall reaction to some people in Rockstar being like, yeah, we're Rockstar, we can release our game anytime we want. Everyone clears the road for us. Oh, Nintendo are releasing Ocarina of Time
literally
remake?
the only company who would dare stand up to Rockstar is Nintendo.
Yes. But I think your theory that, like, look, GTA 6 is not coming to Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch, or PC. Like, there's plenty of people gaming on those platforms, and they will want to play a game this November, and I think Ocarina of Time is a great shout for that game. So yeah, I think there's every chance it does come out November 19th, and we go from there.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go ahead. I know which game I'll be buying. So, great. Cool. Shall I get on my bullshit bally for a little bit here?
Go for it.
All right, Xenoblade Genesis. It's a new fucking Xenoblade. God damn, dude, I'm so excited. So, lots of things here. I've obviously watched like 3 video essays on it already of like 6-hour deep dives into what the fuck is going on here. So, interestingly, they are re-releasing, or they're doing Switch 2 upgrades for all 3 Xenoblade games. So, Xenoblade 1 got an upgrade that's out now, and then 2 is getting one.
Is this the time that I should play Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and catch up with the trilogy?
Just never play Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Bally. Please,
really?
For the love of God, just never bother. No, it's a waste of your time. You should play a good video game, which is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And I think, missing out on 2, it's fine, whatever. 2 is good. I just don't think you would resonate with 2 at all, knowing how you like storytelling done. I think Xenoblade 2's story is fundamentally not that interesting. Like, there's some fun stuff that happens, but I found it very unsatisfying compared to the original, which I think is just a masterpiece from a narrative structure standpoint. And 2 is very disappointing. But 3 is definitely worth checking out. Maybe you just play Genesis instead, because it's a brand new start, right? It's a brand new beginning.
I was going to say, this does feel like a good jumping in point, and do you think it's a prequel?
Oh god, there's so many. I can't answer that without spoiling a lot of things. Unfortunately, there are so many things this could be. There's so many interesting threads.
You can say whether you think it's a prequel, but not say why. I don't know.
I don't think it's a prequel. I think it comes after. Okay. But yeah, there's lots of reasons as to why that's the case. But anyway, just running out the update stuff. So yeah, they're doing updates for 2 and 3, and those both coming later in the year, and all 3 of them are getting like new stuff. So like 3 is getting like a new hero and hero quests, which are like the best side quests in those games. So that's really nice to hear, and I'll probably jump back into 3 at that point in time. I've not got the upgrade for 1 because I already replayed 1 on Switch 1. I don't feel like I need to do it anytime soon. I'll probably get that eventually, but I think 3 is the one that I'll get the upgrade for, and then kind of go forward with that. But so, interesting thing about Xenoblade Genesis. So, there is a mistake that Nintendo made in the trailer. There is something they left in there that probably was not meant to be left in and was there by accident. For like a single frame in one of the scenes, at the very bottom left-hand corner of the screen, there is a file directory that shows up on the image, which means obviously they're capturing from development hardware, and so they're sourcing files from certain places. And I'm sure like this happens a lot when I'm playing pre-release builds. There's lots of like things in the corner of like, this is like a build in development, here's the build number, blah blah blah. So the bottom left corner has a file directory, and it has folders, and it's like Xenoblade Genesis, blah blah blah, and one of the folders is called Legacy. Legacy is the code name of a game that Monolith Soft was supposedly developing years ago after Xenoblade 1 or X had shipped. I think after X had shipped, and people were like, what are they going to do next? There was a bunch of artwork for like a medieval fantasy project, and I remember looking at this stuff on forums and being like, oh my god, this looks so cool. What if they went in like a more action direction and made like a medieval style game? And this was kind of forgotten about for a long time, and the file on this says Legacy, which means that this is to some degree taking that project and basically creating it as a Xenoblade game instead. So I imagine that they had done some progress on that, maybe canned it, maybe put it away for a while, and then came back to it. And yes, now this is, them taking the Xenoblade name, but doing something different with it. Obviously, it doesn't look particularly like a Xenoblade game. There's definitely things that are very obvious and clearly very Xenoblade, but it looks, in a lot of ways, I think a lot of people are talking about Fire Emblem with this, mainly 3 houses because of the school setting. So it seems like you are this young girl who is at a school. She has long pointy ears, so like kind of elf-like, but there's also human characters in there with regular ears. So there's a lot of discussion of like what type of person could this be, blah blah blah. And yeah, they are in this kind of school setting at the start, and they Koizumi did say before the trailer played, this is some of the early stuff from the game. So I think a lot of people are speculating in traditional Xenoblade style there will be some inciting event that means they have to leave the school and go explore the world, etc., etc. The world itself is very interesting because I only clocked this in the final scene of the trailer, but if you go back you can see it all throughout. It seems like this world is the inside of a sphere, like the way that the world is rolling. It's like reverse Animal Crossing, right? How, remember on DS how, you'd see like the rolling world as you kind of ran over the horizon. This is like a concave world where you run forward and it bends like underneath you and you can see like what's in front of you. Like the sea is the sky sometimes in this game. You'll look up at the sky and it will be the sea up there. And it's because the world is concave, and so above you is stuff that is concave in front of you, essentially. Really fucking cool. I think my favorite thing about Xenoblade from like a just world design perspective is every single game has an interesting, unique take on what the world looks like. The first game being the body of two dead giants. The second game being all these different titans and like basically living creatures that like move around this sea that is made of clouds, essentially. The third game is different because it is mashing stuff together from 1 and 2, so it's not as unique. I would say 3 is definitely the weakest on the world standpoint. And so this idea of like a world that is spherical, but you're on the inside, it's like a Dyson sphere, right? Like you're on the inside of a sphere. Inside, it's basically if you were inside Earth instead of outside Earth, basically. It's such an odd concept. But the thing that like gives me pause about this, I guess the Halo ring is a good example, right? Because it's essentially that, but fully spherical as opposed to a ring. The thing that gives me pause is there are scenes in this trailer that show a night sky. And so you're like, well, how can a night sky exist if you're fully enclosed within a sphere? So I wonder if maybe it is more like a Halo ring and it is like open to the sky on the outside and there's some stuff going on there. But that by far is the thing that interests me the most from this and what we've seen is like, what is this world and how does it function and all that sort of stuff. I think it's really fascinating stuff. So and then the final line of the trailer is talking about the vengeance of a fallen god, and I'm like, right, I'm fucking in. This is exactly Xenoblade bullshit. I'm definitely very down for it. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff. There's dragons flying around. It feels definitely much more medieval fantasy, but I guarantee there will be sci-fi elements thrown in here, and it will all have a lot of things kind of tying it together from that perspective as well. So yeah, very, very excited. That's 2027, so it's not coming until next year, but easily now my number one most anticipated game. Probably, I think this and God of War Laufey are probably my two favorite reveals of the whole Summer Game Fest period. So those are probably my two top games that I'm looking forward to the next year.
I think that if people review Genesis in a similar way to 3, I should probably try. Because I think as much as 3 was exciting to me, it was like, I've not played 2 and I'd have to catch up on the story, and it's a very, very long game. I'm sure this game will be very long as well, but it might be worth seeing for me. But
I think the thing is, like, there are some long games that for me don't feel long at all just because I'm so engrossed in them and I'm so into the world and everything.
And then there's Rebirth.
Yeah, totally. So that, it goes the opposite way, of course, but like there's certain ones that just like time melts. The interesting thing, they mainly showed cutscenes in this trailer. There was like a tiny bit of exploration. There was also the mount. So there's this weird like bird, like horse creature, dog creature that looks really cool that you ride it on. So you could like ride around on your mount and go around the place. But aside from like a little bit of exploration gameplay, there was no combat at all. So the question is it still like Xenoblade style combat? Are they going more action focused this time? Because that could be something that kind of changes your mind to some degree as well. So yeah, very curious about what they're going to reveal about this upcoming. And I definitely expect to learn a bit more later in the year. And I feel like this is probably coming out around this time next year. That feels like a good spot for it. Yeah, we shall see. Bali, do you want to talk about your JRPG bullshit?
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy Resonance looked pretty cool. Like, I think it's interesting. Nintendo seemed to have Square Enix in their pocket, minus Final Fantasy 7 Part 3. And then Xbox seemed to have Sega in their pocket. And then Sony don't seem to have a Japanese developer just directly in their pocket right now, which I think is very, very interesting.
Well, I think they used to, right?
They did used
PS5, to. PS5 was definitely like, or PS4 really was an era of exclusives for Sony from a lot of Japanese publishers. I think what happened was everyone realized they need to make money, and so they stopped doing that. Because originally, the Final Fantasy VII trilogy was announced as a PlayStation exclusive, the whole trilogy, and now we're at a spot where the third game is every platform day one, so clearly something changed. I think part of it is their new CEO came in and was like, nah, we got to make money, we can't be doing this exclusive bullshit with Sony anymore, we have to be on every platform, and I feel it's going to work out massively for them, because they definitely, I remember they were saying like Rebirth, they felt underperformed, and it was because it was only on PlayStation at the start, there was no other place you could play it. This time, PC day one, Switch 2 day one. That's going to be huge. This is going to be the biggest launch for Square Enix in a long time, I think, because of that fact, because they are not stranded on one platform. So, yeah, good for them.
But it's also interesting that as much as like Sega and Xbox's pocket, it's not an exclusive deal, right? Like it's just a
I think it's more
co-marketing
co-marketing,
right?
Really. Yeah.
So it's interesting that even Sony don't have any kind of marketing deal with any a Japanese developer in the same way. I think it's interesting, whereas obviously Square Enix have seen Nintendo as a great opportunity to get out loads of stuff that we're going to talk about. But like, I think that Final Fantasy Resonance, it seems that there's a Final Fantasy mobile game that is getting the same treatment that the Octopath Zero game got, and it's turning a mobile game into a HD 2D
real video game,
full game. Sorry.
A real video game.
A real video game.
Yes, yeah.
And, Octopath Zero's got great reviews. Neither of us has got to it yet. I really want to get to that game. But it's great to see Final Fantasy getting that treatment. The first Final Fantasy game in HD 2D, I think that's a pretty big deal. And this is what I like about these HD 2D games, is they do seem to have just a very quick turnaround time. Like, it's like, here's an announcement. It's out this autumn. Like, great, let's go. Will I play this day one? I doubt I will have time, and I think I also owe it to myself to play Octopath before Final Fantasy. That's just because I'm an Octopath fanboy, but I do want to play this at some point, and I think it looked pretty cool. Seems to have some link to, you can like summon people from all the other Final Fantasy games. Like, I think they showed off Cloud a bit. So
yes, I think that is a holdover from the mobile game, because obviously the mobile game, you want to get all the fan favorites in there. Blah blah blah. I saw Terra in there as well, so you could summon Terra.
Yeah.
And basically, I think there's one like key character from each Final Fantasy that you can bring in, basically. I like the look of this a lot. I think also the beginning pixel art of it looked outstanding. Like, there was something about it.
Yes, it was like HD 2D to the max, where I was like, wait, it's like, it looked like a 3D rendered model, but I was like, I can see pixels, and it's like they're trying a new look with HD 2D, which I think is good. Like, everyone, I think it's unfair to say that HD 2D is one look. I think that the range of HD 2D games that there have been do look quite drastically different depending on when that game came out and the style. So like, and this looks artistically quite a lot cooler. Like, I think I've said before, Octopath Traveler 2 is just so much more cinematic than the first. Like, they play with camera angles and the way that light reflects and cutscenes and voice acting, and there's a way that game is treated that I think is very different to one that is a nice improvement. So I can see that this game's going to have all that glam, all that glitz and glamour, so I think it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I hope it turns out as well as Octopath Zero did, because there's always hesitation when it's like, well, it was originally a mobile game and we're just going to make it. But yeah, sounds like we're hopefully in good hands, and it does look very, very cool. So
one HD 2D game a year, they're keeping up that cadence pretty well, roughly.
Yeah, maybe more than one sometimes. I think this year Dragon Quest came out, didn't it? 2 and 3, or 1 and 2 HD came out. So, so there's Elliot coming in this week actually. this coming week. There's so much HD 2D. I'm so happy that it's successful, because it's definitely my favorite flavor of Square Enix at this point in time. So cool. Glad that they are chugging along. Cool. Not Final Fantasy. From one bullshit series from Square Enix to another. I just want to talk about Kingdom Hearts 4, because like everyone I think was stunned that this was at the Nintendo Direct at all, because everyone was like, where's the show? Is it going to be Jeff? Is Jeff going to get it? Is Sony going to get it? Okay. No, Nintendo gets it. Right. It's a platform that has not had the mainline Kingdom Hearts games, because Kingdom Hearts 1 I believe was PS2, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 was also PS2. Kingdom Hearts 3 was obviously PS4, and Nintendo have had Kingdom Hearts games before, but they're mainly GBA or DS or 3DS, right? So they're always the spin-off, like, middle ones.
It's day and date. Nintendo Switch 2. Like, that is a huge get for Nintendo, and
I think that is the story of this Nintendo Direct by far. Is like, here's big video games. Here's Dragon's Dogma 2, the Ultimate Edition with new DLC coming to Switch 2. You know, like
whether you can debate till you're blue in the face whether the Switch 2 is powerful enough to do this, that, and the other, and ultimately whether it's harder to develop for or not. These companies have decided it is worth doing. Like, and I think that's the important part. Is sure, Kingdom Hearts 4 might look a bit nicer on PS5 than Nintendo Switch 2. Sure. But there's so many people who weren't on the PS5 who were longing to play Kingdom Hearts 4 that can be like, right, great, I can just play Kingdom Hearts 4 day one, Nintendo Switch 2, let's go. What I'm completely baffled by is that, like, and I need to think back to like how they revealed 3, because that 3 had like a really long lead up time. Because I'm a very fair weather Kingdom Hearts fan. I enjoyed playing 3. I struggled on the final boss and had to put it down because it's one of those games where you can't reduce the difficulty mid game, which is completely mind blowing. But I'm a huge Disney fan, so like I was really excited to play in the Disney worlds. I think what was so strange about this reveal was that like we got this kind of boss fight, but there was no reference to like what Disney worlds will appear. And the big hype is that like since Kingdom Hearts 3, Disney have owned Star Wars and Marvel for like much longer, so it's implied they might be involved in this game. It'd be nice to see what worlds appear, but I guess they're saving that for a later reveal. But maybe they could have dangled some sort of carrot.
Yeah.
Who knows how that even works?
I wouldn't be surprised if there was zero Disney in this video game. I know that's a strange thing to say. Yeah, I know that's a strange thing to say, but so Tetsuya Nomura, he's a man, and he has plans, okay? This man, an insane individual, obviously Square Enix in charge of many things, but mostly Kingdom Hearts, and I don't know. So I don't know if you know about like the DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3 and what that entailed and what that really was about.
But my understanding is it wasn't in any Disney World and was...
No. So the DLC is basically... So, okay, let's do a quick recap. So back in the early 2010s, I think I've talked about this before, but let me recap it. Square Enix had an initiative called Fabula Nova Crystallis. And Fabula Nova Crystallis was 3 video games. It was Final Fantasy 13, it was Final Fantasy like Duodecim something bullshit, and it was Final Fantasy Versus 13, and they called this Fabula Nova Crystallis, and it was this like, here is the future of Final Fantasy, blah 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 blah. And Final Fantasy 13 was the next main line, and then they had this spin-off, and then they were going to do Versus 13. Versus 13, after 10 years, eventually turned into 15. So Versus 13 was a game with Noctis in it, and it looked very different in its first trailer to what Final Fantasy 15 ended up being. That game was directed by Tetsuya Nomura, and he so badly wanted to make this Versus 13 game, but he couldn't figure it out. It was going to be a more action-y game. It wasn't going to be like traditional Final Fantasy, and he never figured out what to do, right? The DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3 is basically him trying to make Versus 13 again. And, like, it's the most insane shit that has happened. I don't know what his plans are with this, but it sounds like Kingdom Hearts 4 is taking place in this city, which is also adjacent to what that stuff was going on. So, again, I'm not fully caught up with this lore and what's going on, but I would not be shocked if there is zero Disney in Kingdom Hearts 4, and it is just Tetsuya Nomura trying to make this video game he's been trying to make for 2 decades. So, anyway.
I don't know. I surely Disney, what they want out of it is, like, their IP represented and looking nice, and they can persuade people to, hey, Frozen's a pretty good film, you should go check that out. Like, isn't there some gain for them in having the world? So they yes, you can't get Mickey without the worlds, and we've already seen Mickey, so I don't know.
I think you're right. Ultimately there will be Disney worlds. I wonder to what extent they'll even be important at all in this game, the grand scheme.
I mean, they're barely important in the other games, so like, I don't know.
True.
But
well, I don't know. The first game is pretty straight-laced with that stuff. You go from world to world, and it's kind of like, I don't know, there's not much weird stuff going on in the first game, but as soon as they got past the first game, it all started going into its own crazy lore rabbit hole. So
I can't claim I'm going to pick up Kingdom Hearts 4 anytime soon, to be honest.
No.
3 was fun. It was a fun romp, but I don't know. There's something a bit. The story's just ridiculous, and like I need a good story with JRPGs I'm into. So yeah, it's not my cup of tea massively.
Cool. Well, I'm sure everyone will melt down when it does finally release in the year 2035. Until then, let's talk about another video game. Anything here that stands out to you, Bally, that's left on the docket?
Shall we talk about Nintendo Switch Sports?
Oh, sure, yeah. That was a brand new announcement. Sports Resort,
because we already had Nintendo Switch Sports. When did that come out? Like 3 years ago? Like I'm just.
It was a Switch 1 game. Yeah, that sounds about right.
2022. A quick
Yeah.
Google is suggesting. So I guess it's been 4 years, but my God, Nintendo love returning to their bullshit, don't they? They cannot resist a bit of swinging that controller around. And you know what? I thought Bally Jr. would absolutely love this. Like, I think he might be ready. Now, I need to make sure it's strapped to his wrist and he won't let go of that damn thing because I'm not letting him put that thing right through our TV. But he might be ready for a bit of motion control waggle and a bit of 2007 all over again. I think if you're into that stuff, it looks great. I think I might just be a little bit over the hill personally in terms of like we've waggled a whole lot in our lives, MBZ. Like we've waggled so many Wiimotes, so many Switch controllers. We've just waggled till we're blue in the face, and I don't know if thumb wrestling is going to get me back into the waggle.
It looks pretty good. That thumb gets big,
yeah.
Gets pretty large. Thumb.
They gave a release date, but then they teased that like thumb wrestling was down the line, right? It's not even there day one. Am I making that up? Yeah.
I'm not sure on that.
It was some weird tease, but yeah, there's a chance Bally Jr. would be up for this. I think I might show him a trailer at some point, and if he like resonates with it or not, it could be one we try.
Maybe just get out original Wii Sports, or maybe just play Switch Sports with him and see how he finds that.
I will get out Switch Sports and see what he has to say. That's a very good idea. The other thing is he's at that age where he's not allowed to lose. Like he can't lose, when he loses, big tears happen, and it's like, okay, how do we navigate this? And I was like, it's very age appropriate. It's not him. This is like every other kid we know is the same situation, but my God, it's hard. It is hard.
Yeah. I don't think I probably will pick this up. I think it was fun playing Switch Sports for a bit, but I did ultimately put it down pretty quickly. We definitely had some fun online with it, and that was good. But I think I might wait maybe until this is on sale in a few years' time and pick it up then and try out.
Woohoo Island just won't die. It
won't die. No,
there forever.
I mean, this is probably going to sell a lot of fucking copies. Like this is what happens.
I think the Switch Sports do okay. It did ish.
It did pretty well. Yeah. Actually, I don't know where it landed in the overall sellers, but it's definitely over 1 million for sure. That's guaranteed. So, yeah, I think it did okay. But it seems like they've stuck with a similar art style and like character style, because obviously they kind of killed the Mii's, because Mii's used to be a thing for all the kind of sports stuff and the Wii stuff generally, but they moved on to these kind of more higher fidelity characters that they added, and you can kind of customize your own one. And yeah, that was cool. Gives it a bit more identity, I guess.
I have an unofficial number. Do you want to guess how much Nintendo Switch Sports sold?
Oh gosh, let's say 6 million.
This is according to someone on Reddit, so like pinch of salt here.
Okay, yeah.
More.
Fuck, 8 million.
More.
Fucking hell, 11 million.
More.
Oh my God, you gotta be serious. 14 million?
Apparently it sold 13 million copies.
13 million? Fucking hell, dude.
No wonder it's back within 4 years, because that is a great number for Nintendo.
Jesus Christ.
They just need to add a couple of games, give the old games a bit of extra, few more pixels, and they're good to go. Wow, that is... Yeah.
That Nintendo Switch, it sold a lot of fucking consoles, didn't it? Holy shit.
That thing is doing fine. Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
My God.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was pretty nuts. Not as nuts as Rhythm Heaven Groove coming very soon. Game of the year,
God, it's
baby.
Looking good.
Game of the year. Looks so good. I am very excited for this. I watched a Treehouse segment of Rhythm Heaven that focused on the RPG thing that they showed, which is really cool. So basically you are...
Is that a big deal? That's not just a minigame?
Oh, totally. It's a whole mode, basically.
Geez,
it's an entire RPG mode where you go through battles and you fight things in a row, and you have spells that you cast through rhythm. So your first one is just an attack, and it's like A, B, A, B, and you just do it on that rhythm basically, and you keep attacking. You can't block, at least from what they showed so far. That might be a spell later, but then you start getting the heal spell, and so you're going to take damage in a turn-based fight from the enemy. And so when you see you're low on damage, you go from A, B, A down B, A, B, A down B, and A down B is healing you basically. So you have to decide with the rhythm, shit, I'm low, let's heal 3 times in a row, then go back to attacking. And like, man, it looks like it would be so much fun. I'm very, very excited.
That's a lot of like pat your tummy, rub your head, or vice versa. You know, like that.
Especially when you have like 4 or 5 spells potentially at once, and you're like, shit, okay, I need to make a decision. Like, you're making tactical decisions on the fly while the rhythm is also needed in order to execute them. So obviously started off very simple, and I was like, oh, is this going to be a bit too basic? But when they added the heal spell in, then I was like, oh, this is going to probably keep going and add complexity, and eventually you're going to be like pressing things like offbeat as well. That's where rhythm heaven gets its most difficult, is when they introduce the offbeat, and you can do it on the offbeat as well if you wanted to with this rhythm stuff. But yeah, the rhythm RPG seems great, and an extra whole mode for the game, which means that you have like your standard rhythm heaven story mode, go through all that stuff, and then you also have this as well. I think it's going to be a great fucking time, and I am very much looking forward to that. That's going to be really good fun, and that's July, I think, start of July, isn't it? So yeah, exciting. Good rhythm summer is coming up, big time. Star Fox got a demo, which is cool. I haven't downloaded it yet. I do want to check that out at some point in time. So yeah, well, I don't know if you're gonna check that out.
What's your view on them not just saving Star Fox and Splatoon for this direct? Why did they get so much news ahead of time?
I think Star Fox is the case of it looks a bit weird, and they had the movie tie-in as well, and so I think they wanted to give it its own spot. Splatoon, I don't know. Splatoon they treat super weirdly, because they announced Splatoon Raiders last year in like August or something, and I was like, what? And also it was announced in a video that didn't even say Splatoon Raiders. It was just like update about Splatoon, and I missed that video, and I was like, I just missed the announcement of a new video game. It was so odd. So I feel like Splatoon almost beats to its own drum to some degree, and is like, oh, we're just gonna do weird stuff. So I also don't really know what Splatoon, I still don't know, after seeing Splatoon Raiders multiple times, I still can't tell you what that video game is, really.
I know that I kind of want to play it. I just don't know what it's going to be. But I mean, I'm hopeful it's akin to broadly to like the single player modes, and like there's a lot of innovative ideas in the 3 campaigns we've played so far. So like, especially the 3rd. So I'm hopeful. I do want to wait for reviews, but I think it could be very strong.
Yeah. We'll see. So interested, see what people tell us it actually is. Fire Emblem, probably should have talked about this a bit sooner, but they gave a release date for Fire Emblem, which is 17th of September, just in the middle of every other game that is coming out this year in September.
Does it say something that you've waited this long to talk about it? Is it not living up to the hype in the way you wanted, or...?
Not necessarily. I think there was just not too much new information. I mean, there's some new information. Like, we know that there's now 4 characters who are like kind of your core party, or your choices, essentially. 3 houses, you chose your house. Here you have these 4 characters, you choose one of them.
As you move further along the line, they seem to have fewer and fewer clothes, I noticed. Like, it just kind of...
yeah, probably. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, I mean, they showed some stuff. They showed like this weird world map type thing that looked like a roguelike map for some reason. I was like, what the hell's going on with that? So there's a lot of stuff I don't really understand. Yeah, I need to watch some follow-up content on Fortune's Weave to figure out what's going on. But it's a Fire Emblem game. I'm excited to play it regardless of what's happening. But yeah, I think I'm happy to... It's the weird thing about Xenoblade and Fire Emblem, in that, like, Fire Emblem, I don't really care about the world or the story or anything. I just like moving people on a grid and, like, leveling people up and having a satisfaction of like solving a map, versus Xenoblade, where I love the world and the characters and the story. And so a trailer for Xenoblade is always going to get me more excited than a trailer for Fire Emblem, because I'm like, as soon as I know Fire Emblem exists, it's like, great, I'll play it, I'll enjoy it. I think trailers for Fire Emblem don't really do too much for me, generally speaking, which is probably why it kind of slipped from my mind. I will be playing it day 1 on September 17th. So.
It's out 2 days after Wolverine. Like, it's just...
Yes.
This year exactly. It went from... I think I'd say the first couple of months were fairly sparse for my interests, and then I feel like summer into autumn is chocker. Just so much.
Yeah, it's gone mad. So, Cool. Anything else big here for you, Bal? I think we're kind of down to
Orbital's finally got a release date, and it's still
which is September 3rd, isn't it?
Yeah, September 3rd. So another September game. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might actually have to give up Overwatch. Is this actually happening to me?
I think you have to, Bally. Yeah, unfortunately. The addiction must end.
I can't believe it.
At some point in time.
I have been making good progress with Witcher 3. I think I'm fairly near the end of the main story, as you were saying before.
Nice. So you only have 600 more hours of DLC to go.
Exactly.
So, it's fine.
But yeah, Orbitals. I think we'll wait for some reviews, won't we? But otherwise, we're going to play that.
I think I'll probably just pick it up. Yeah. It'll be a good time. I think some big ones. Metaphor is coming to Switch, which is huge. I'm so glad that's coming. A fantastic game. My game of the year a couple of years ago. Definitely check out Metaphor. Stellar Blade is coming to Switch, which I didn't think something like that would, but very high fidelity.
Is Persona 6 Day 1 Switch 2?
They have not confirmed Persona 6 for Switch 2 yet. I'm sure they will, to be honest, at some point in time. Same with 4 Revival. Persona 4 Revival does not have a Switch 2 confirmation either, which is weird because Persona 3 Reload is on Switch now. So maybe they're just waiting for later to announce it.
You're confident they will come day 1?
I'm pretty confident they will, yeah. I think that audience is so... I feel like Atlas have sold so many copies of Persona on Switch at this point in time. It has to happen. So, I think that's inevitable. But yeah, Stellar Blade, Dragon's Dogma, Onimusha, another Capcom Day 1 game for the Switch 2. Capcom had an insane year with Pragmata and Resident Evil, and now they're having Onimusha coming out as well on the Switch 2 Day 1, and it looks really, really good. So, yeah, that's some big games there. As I mentioned before, Dragon's Dogma is getting kind of like a remastered, not remastered, like an upgraded edition, because they did this with the first Dragon Dogma where they called it Dark Arisen, so now they have Dragon Dogma 2 Dark Arisen, so it's like basically the ultimate version of Dragon's Dogma, which is nice. Lies of P, which I'm currently playing, also coming to Switch, which is great, and Devil May Cry 5, as we mentioned, so those are big ones. And Deltarune Chapter 5 is coming out, so that means my Fantasy Critic will get points this year, so that's good. I'm very glad, because I had some bunch of delays, had to replace a bunch of stuff in my team with other stuff, so yeah, I'm glad that I need to finish Deltarune Chapter 4. I only played Chapter 3 at the Switch 2 launch, and I need to play Chapter 4. Chapter 5 comes out in a week's time as well. Everything is happening. Why are there so many games, Christ?
Talking of games I've played that I don't think you're going to make it this year is Pocopia, and there's more stuff coming there.
The expansion pass?
Yeah, there's free stuff, but also paid for stuff. I think I'm fairly done with that game. I don't feel the urge to go and explore underwater personally, but I think that's really cool that that's there for people to do.
I mean, it's there for, lots of people are still playing Pocopia, will continue to, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the one oddity here was the Duskbloods, where they showed, it's similar to Ocarina of Time, weirdly. They showed barely anything of it, and they were like, it's a network test happening in the summer. Cool. All right, great. So no real major update on that.
You're confident Duskbloods and Ocarina of Time are both this year?
Not Duskbloods. Definitely not Duskbloods. Ocarina, lock it the fuck in.
Right. What's happening to MBZ if Ocarina is next year?
I don't know. I have to buy you a pizza or something.
Pizza bet.
Kind of a pizza bet. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
It's going to come out. But we have to swing this both ways, though. You know. This is the thing.
I'm not confident either way.
You're not confident either way. Okay. Yeah. I'm just putting.
I'll put down a pizza bet for something else. But I just need to think of it.
All right.
I just need to think of it.
Okay, we'll come to that at some point. All right. I definitely think that's going to be the case. Cool. Some other weird stuff. They're doing a Donkey Kong challenge on Switch, which I don't really understand. I don't know. They're like, hey, do some fucking things in Donkey Kong games and we'll get you Switch badges or something. I don't understand. Yeah. Weird stuff going on there. The weirdest one, Ninjala 2. Ninjala 1 was a multiplayer Splatoon ripoff. And Ninjala 2 seems like an open world game.
Right, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, this is not like the first game.
Right. What is going on? I have no idea what the hell is happening there. That's very odd. So I'm sure we'll find out. It was also Ninjala was free to play as well. So I'm like, is this going to be free to play? Very strange. Like making a direct sequel that is a totally different video game is such a odd choice. But alas, that's what they're doing. And I think we talked about this in the other Patreon podcast, but they announced Rayman Legends Retold, which is a remake of Rayman Legends, which is coming to Switch too. Obviously, great game, fantastic. If you've not played Rayman Legends, definitely play it. I think we kind of discussed that it looks okay, but not I mean, the original still looks fantastic, right? So you can still very
Totally.
easily just play that for a much cheaper price than they're charging for the new one. So the one that I found very odd here, where they were like, and Minecraft is coming to Switch 2, and I'm like, that wasn't on there already? I was like, they haven't already done like a Switch 2 edition of Minecraft? Like, surely that should have been a day one thing, right, that they would have done, but like Fortnite and all these other games. But okay, I guess Minecraft now gets another spot in a fucking Nintendo Direct, so yeah. Cool, I think that pretty much covers everything.
I think it's important to note that assuming Ocarina of Time comes out this year, Fire Emblem comes out this year, we are now in a position...
Rhythm Heaven comes out this year.
When what does?
Rhythm Heaven, the game of the year, as we all know.
But we're in a position now where I think we know absolutely zero, apart from leaks and rumors, that's coming out next year. And like, I don't think Nintendo have been in this position for quite a while. Like, I think we've had Fire Emblem.
Xenoblade's the only thing. They obviously said Xenoblade
you're
is
right,
next year,
you're right.
but that's it. That's the one thing.
That is, and that's spring. So like, I feel like we're pretty lined up for potential announcements come November or January, February directs. You know, like, I think that the slate is pretty clear if there is going to be top tier, like Nintendo big first party output, like a 3D Mario or something. Like, I think
3D Mario is definitely going to be announced soon. I think it'll be for next year, and that will be something. But I think they probably announce it next year, right? They don't think they do it this year. I think they wait until it's very close to coming out, which is what they did with Odyssey. And
it could be teased in February, bigger trailer in summer, and then similar to Ocarina of Time, maybe like it's big
by the end of the year.
Big gameplay October.
I think they might even reveal it in June next year. You know, that could even be the case. So yeah, definitely.
Just it's exciting. I think it was strong overall. I am super excited for Ocarina of Time. Like I've said, I think this is a more fundamental remake than at least I was predicting. And like everyone else, I want to see more. But I think it was pretty exciting. Just the level of production.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually quite a strong rest of the year. Like Star Fox, followed by Rhythm Heaven, followed by Splatoon, is like 3 big IPs coming through, which is very cool. Then Fire Emblem in September. So I think October, I can't remember. I think there is something for October, but I think November will be Zelda. So I think they really kind of have something for every month. Switch Sports is October, right? So they which basically lends credence to Ocarina being November, essentially, right? If you're thinking about,
I think you'll find
one big
October is Star Wars Galactic Racer. That is the October
of course,
game.
yeah. But we're talking about first party Nintendo video games here.
Yes.
So. Yeah, it's a decent lineup, and I'm looking forward to checking out a lot of those for sure. Definitely want to play the Star Fox demo and see how I feel about it, because everyone has been saying how good it looks. Apparently it looks fucking fantastic. So yeah, that'll be very exciting. Great. Well, that'll do us for this segment. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be back after the break to talk about Mina the Hollower. See you in a bit. All right, everybody, welcome back to the second half of today's show. It's time to talk about the video games we've been playing. And we've mainly been playing a video game that has come out recently. One I think that's been long awaited, long in development. The latest game from Yacht Club, of course, the creators of Shovel Knight. A game that kind of goes back to the origin of this podcast, really. I think Shovel Knight came out, was it 2014? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And we started pretty close to then. So, yeah, one of the early games that we'd have talked about, and believe we played every DLC as it came out as well, all the King Knight and Spectre Knight. So
8 years or something, 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that was part of the kind of story here, isn't it? It's like they had promised Kickstarter stuff and tied themselves up to such a degree that they were on the hook for multiple free DLCs, to the point where I believe the Switch had already been out for a while, and then the final King Knight DLC came out for Shovel Knight, and I was still playing it on the 3DS because that's where I originally bought Shovel Knight, and so that's where they had to keep updating it for the 3DS even all the way through that point. I think since then they've done like a full reversioning of it, where like you have Shovel of Hope that the original, and then they have the Treasure Trove Collection, which is everything all together. So yeah, at this point in time, you can play all the Shovel Knight everywhere, wherever you want to do. It's all available and ready to be enjoyed. But a few years ago, Yacht Club announced a new video game that was coming out, and it was called Mina the Hollower, and they did a Kickstarter campaign around this, raised a lot of money for it, I think over $1 million, similar to what they did with Shovel Knight, because that was originally kickstarted as well. And really, I think that was more a community marketing thing than anything, because, Shovel Knight made a good amount of money, and they could kind of self-fund the rest of the studio. It has been, I believe, 6 years total of development for Mina the Hollower, which is very, very long and more than you might expect for a game that looks like a Game Boy Color game, which is essentially what this is. I guess the picture of Mina the Hollower is it's a top-down game that looks like from the Game Boy Color era, riffing on things like Zelda and Castlevania from aesthetic perspective, and came out recently, was reviewed by the press, and is currently the highest reviewed game of the year so far. Definitely, hard to achieve that title, especially in a year with so many big games coming, and there's going to be a lot more coming later. So will it hold that crown? I don't know, but it certainly is the number one. And a game that I've heard a lot of mixed stuff about overall, which is interesting, because you would imagine a game that has such a high Metacritic and is the highest reviewed game of the year so far would be a slam dunk for everybody. But I think this has fallen into an interesting camp where, people have kind of reacted to it in various different ways. Bally and I have not actually discussed our opinions with each other on Mina the Hollower yet. We just wanted to come into this fresh and kind of give our thoughts. So, Bally, how many have you played so far of the game?
I think I'm roughly 11 hours in, and I'm in the third area.
Okay. And by third area, that could be any number of areas, because the game is relatively open, and you could go and do a certain area before another area.
We should say all our thoughts today are going to be very spoiler-free. We're not really going to spoil almost anything, if possible, and then we'll go full spoilers next time. Yeah,
I know there's some stuff you can talk about, but I don't know if there's much to be spoiled. It's a weird thing with games like this, but for me, I don't know if there's too much to be spoiled. But
a lot of mechanical stuff, I'd argue, but yeah.
Yeah, some trinkets and things like that. But okay. So I'd say you're probably about halfway through, probably, so far into the game. I have finished the game, so I finished it yesterday, clocking in around 18-ish hours, 18, 19 hours. So it is a long thing. It's definitely longer than playing a Shovel Knight campaign all the way through. And that's because it's a big game. It's very large. It has lots of areas, lots of exploration, lots of stuff going on. But Bally, let's get to the important stuff. What do you think of this game? How do you feel about Mina the Hollower?
I'm very positive so far. I think that I went in knowing it was going to be hard. And going into something when you know it's going to be hard, I think does make it feel easier. And what I mean by that is, like, the first area was manageable but hard, and it was kind of rough, and you don't have you have very little support to like heal yourself, make yourself stronger, this kind of thing. And then the second area, I reckon I probably went to a very difficult place, and it was very challenging, but in a good way. And I felt that because it was so challenging, I was actually doing quite a lot of leveling up in that area, because I don't think the punishments for dying are that bad, and you can hold back a lot of bones. So I eventually overcame the second area. It must have taken me easily like 5 to 6 hours. And I think this game maybe snowballs a bit as you get further and you get stronger, and there's a bit of a power creep. But like that second area, when I didn't have much at the start of the area and had quite a lot by the end, and now I'm in the third area, I feel quite a lot more powerful, and a lot more of the map has kind of like opened up, this kind of thing. And yeah, I just think this game is great. I think that I generally really liked Link's Awakening when I played it. Maybe I was a little less hot on it later, but this is doing everything that game does and more, with like so many modern sensibilities. Modern sensibilities in terms of like, we're going to give this a real soulsy kind of, you need to earn your money, but there's so many things you can spend your money on, like feels almost unlimited the number of things you can sink all that cash into. And I just think that weighing up what I invest in, how I do it, this kind of thing feels very satisfying. And I think that I do have frustrations with this game. I think that some of the retro things it does are frustrating. For example, there is pushback not even when you're hit by an enemy, but there's also some pushback when you're doing the hitting of an enemy, and there's a lot of places to fall off, and falling off does a lot of damage. And I think this is probably, in terms of a game with a healing mechanic, this might be the most brutal healing mechanic I've ever dealt with before, where people have probably heard how it works before, but I'll try and explain it. You need to attack enemies to build up a meter, and then you can spend one of your vials to heal yourself what you've just gained. If you get hit while you are building up that meter, you'll take a huge chunk of damage. So it's important that like you try and heal when you have built up that meter. But the idea that you don't just have to hit an enemy to heal, or that your vials heal you an automatic amount, is very unique to this game in my experience. Like it's very challenging to be forced to make attacks on an enemy in order to then heal. And if you don't do it in that window, and it does take quite a long time to like drink a vial, you're pretty snookered. So yeah, this game is hard, but like I'm really enjoying the progression. I'm very excited for the second half of this game. Like I think maybe I picked a little bit too hard of a dungeon second time round, but I really wanted to try and just pick one I felt like, or I felt I could even access, because supposedly you can access all of them, but I didn't feel like I could, so I just tried this one and went with it, and it was satisfying. I think it's a very satisfying, like, let's poke this, let's do that, and that's not to mention some of the like tunic levels of things I've discovered about the world, which are very satisfying to unlock. So yeah, I'm very, very impressed, and looking forward to more.
Great. So yeah, I'd say I'm similar overall. I definitely have gone like up and down in certain senses of the game, where the very beginning, I think the first like couple of hours, it's fine. It's just tutorial introducing, all that good stuff. Then after you get to the town and you have to choose your first area to go to, I was going every direction and I was getting my fucking teeth kicked in. And I was like, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do? I don't have anything. I can't like hit people for damage. I die in 2 hits. It was really rocking me. And I think the area I was supposed to go to, that is kind of like the traditional first area for everybody, even going in that direction, there is fucking knight enemies, right? The enemies with the shield and the sword who dash at you a couple of times. And those guys were just killing me immediately. Yeah. And I was like, it takes like 17 fucking hits to kill them. What the hell is going on? I don't have anything. I can't do anything. I was really, really annoyed with it. And ultimately, I just kind of ignored them, went past them, and tried to get to that first actual area. And once I was in there, I was fine. I think it was just those enemies in particular.
Oh, interesting. See, I went really methodically, slowly, learned how to defeat those enemies, because you went to like basically hollow underneath them, appear at their back and slash them. Yes. And so I was leveled up quite a bit by the time I got to that first dungeon.
Right, because I guess because you were like then getting the bones from killing them, and then using that to level up.
Yeah, and you even have the option when you get to a certain number of bones of like, do I want to bank these bones and make sure I can't lose them when I die, or do I invest them in something? And I've played Souls-like games before, and like I'm very smart about kind of, if I've got a lot of cash, I have to spend it, because once it's spent, it can't be stolen back from me once I've spent it. So like,
right,
I've been basically spending at every opportunity I can, or at least banking, just to protect them.
Yeah, I was doing a thing where I was leveling up higher in one of the stats, and then leaving my sub-weapon one was the one I leveled up the least in terms of... by the end of the game, I was maxed out on everything.
I'm now growing my sub-weapon quite a lot, because there's a lot I've been doing that links to the sub-weapon that I've been like, right, I'm going to boost all that now, and it's making me quite a lot more powerful.
Right, well, yeah, I kind of ignored it for the most part. I didn't ignore it, but like it was the third one I would upgrade.
I agree,
overall. But because of that, the amount that you would need to then bank the gems would be at the lowest value, I think, at least for a certain amount of time. And so I would deliberately do that so that I could then bank a bunch of gems and then use it to level up either my attack or defense, like 2 levels above what the other one was, essentially. So I was kind of like banking it to some degree so I could then, make that work a bit more efficiently. But yeah, eventually I was leveled up a bit more, got some more bones. The way that leveling works in this game is you have these bones that enemies drop and that you find in the world, and it basically automatically chooses to level up for you. It doesn't choose, but basically as soon as you get the number of bones you need to level, the game will freeze and it will say bone up. And when you bone up, you can then decide one of 3 stats in which to implement your kind of like benefit, and then you get your attack boosted, your defense boosted, or your special weapon. And so yeah, I after that kind of first area, I felt a lot better about it. I went to the second area, didn't have too much trouble, kept going, explored all this sort of stuff until the very end of the game, literally the very end of the game, where I got to a point right before the final boss that I was like, fuck this, I hate this so much. I turned on invincibility and I just got through to the final boss. And I fought the final boss once, and I was like, this seems grindy as shit. I'm just going to turn on invincibility, and I just used invincibility to finish the game. Because it pissed me off so fucking much. So, and the thing that really pisses me off about it is I maxed out all my stats. They were all level 10, and I had trinkets equipped that increased my defense and attack. So I was level 10 plus 1. So I should have been level 11 on everything. And it made no fucking difference to some of those late game enemies and to those bosses. And that really pissed me off because it felt like a promise that had been broken, right? And the promise that had been broken is if you level up and you get max stats and all this sort of stuff, you should be cruising through the game because it's an RPG and because you should be able to do more damage if that's the fact. And I didn't find that was the case, especially in the last area where I was just like, I'm so sick and tired of this. I don't want to be doing the same fucking thing again and again, and I just turned it off. So overall, really positive. I think negative first part of the game, negative end of the game, but overall very, very much enjoyed Mina the Hollower, and I think it has a lot of very, very cool stuff going for it. And yeah, some surprising things that kind of crop up. I think one of the points of contention has been around the hollowing and the way that it works, where because they are being so faithful to the control scheme of a Game Boy, and they're like, well, only 2 buttons, is what you need to use here. One of those buttons, jump, is also burrow under the ground, essentially, when you hold it down. And so hollowing, which is your essential dodge in the game, is under this initial thing where you have to jump into the air first to then dive down and then dodge out of the way, which almost means that you have to see an enemy's attack coming before it even starts in order for that to be effective. And I just was curious how you found that as a mechanic so far and how frustrating it had been for you from a combat perspective.
It's tough from a combat perspective, and it's a bit frustrating. And I think that combined with knockback on both getting hit, but knockback on when you attack, and there's a lot of bullshit that feels quite retro where this enemy is encroaching into my space and I am just not nimble enough to vacate that space in time, or I'm at the wrong angle and there's not actually anything I can do other than take damage. There are just certain instances with certain enemies and the way that their spacing works where unless you are preemptively doing things, there's sometimes stuff in the moment you cannot physically do in time to not take damage. And that has definitely been frustrating, and that feels very retro. It feels like it was exactly what they were going for, but in practice it's very much like I don't even have a shield. I can't do a quick dodge to the side. I can't I have to
unless you're using the shield weapon, of course, which is
I've not got that yet, but yeah sorry, but I can't I knew of it, but as you say, you jump and then you burrow and then you get away, or you can take damage and then do an instant burrow. So there is this invincibility frame thing you can do, but obviously you have to take damage before you can do the instant burrow, which is a bit pointless. So yeah, it's tricky. I can see what they're going for. I think it's especially frustrating in areas where there's a lot of space to fall into black pits or just smaller rooms. Sometimes there's just not space. I think the hollowing ability requires space, and there are loads of examples in this game where you don't have the space to use it properly, and sure, that makes the game tough, but it feels like it makes it tough in a fairly unfair way where you are really squashed out of I've learned how to defeat those knights that I burrow under, I pop up behind them and then I attack them. But if I'm given a reduced amount of space, all of a sudden that knight is dominating me, and it's just it can feel like the way I then defeat them is right, well, I'm just going to stand in front of you and mash my attack button so fast that you can't get your attacks out in time. I defeated you and you did some damage to me, but I did more damage to you, and now I'm going to hit a vial, heal up again, and that doesn't always feel like the best way of like defeating an enemy. Like I feel like
no, but it does feel like that is the most common way that I played this game, honestly.
Yes,
like
yeah.
I most of the time am tanking damage, and I think part of the reason for that is that I think, you know, the first area very tough. You don't have much to do. Don't have many.
I definitely found my second area much tougher than your second area, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's probably you probably went in a direction that was intended for later in the game potentially.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to tell you where I went after we recorded.
Yeah, we can discuss that. But I from that first area got 2 really crucial trinkets that basically made the game super easy. Which is number 1, the revival one, which just gets you back to life essentially after you die, and then number 2, the vial pouch, which gives you 2 extra vials, and it means that it automatically has like a threshold to where you can just heal regardless of if you hit an enemy, basically. Because at the beginning of the game,
I don't have that one. I don't think that's a good one.
You got to go find that. That's so helpful, because essentially it means that I could always heal at least a little bit of health even if I hadn't hit somebody, basically.
Right.
And it raises the floor essentially. So
maybe I got something very similar to that.
Okay.
Anyway,
yeah.
I thought it was somewhere else.
But those 2 I had at the beginning, and I basically kept them the entire game because they were just super functional, super useful, the most helpful of the ones that I had found, and I never found anything that needed to replace them. And then obviously later on, you can spend a bunch of money and get... So by the end, I had 5 trinket slots, which seemed kind of crazy. But yeah, I could have loads of stuff equipped. And, you know, you increase your health and find a bunch of upgrades, all this sort of stuff. The town, I think, is quite fun in terms of, like, the different shops. And you unlock more as you kind of go along and figure out, oh, I can get over here if I do this. And, you know, find a secret route. And, you know, you also get sparks, which is an interesting mechanic where... It is essentially a way for you to save your bones if you die, and you start with 1 spark, and then you can get more as you go throughout the game. But it's essentially a comeback mechanic of, in Dark Souls, if you die, you lose all of your souls. You have to go back and claim them again, and if you die on the way to getting them, that's it, they're lost forever. Versus in Mina, if you die... It'll be like, oh, your crystal shard saved you, so you haven't lost your bones yet. And when that happens, what I usually will do is I'm just going to spend these if I can, or try and find a way to spend them so that I then don't have to worry about getting back to my corpse. Because I think the thing that actually is worse about this game is if you die to a boss with that crystal shard stuff, you can't get that crystal shard back until you've beaten the boss. So you could lock yourself into a kind of really bad position where, oh, I have 6,000 bones, but I need 7,000 to level up. Shit, I've got the boss now. If you go into that boss fight and you take more than, like, say, 2 tries to kill it, you're going to lose all of those, and there's no way for you to get them back, because if you die once on it, that crystal shard is going to be inside the boss, and you can't get it. And it's different to Hollow Knight, where you have the shade to defeat before the room to get it, or in Silksong, where you can just pick it up, basically, from the thread. This forces you to defeat the enemy that killed you, and so that means with bosses it's overly punishing, I would say, in that sense.
You can gain the what are they called? Orb? What are they called?
The sparks?
The spark. You can gain the spark back by leveling up something else. It will come back out of the enemy.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, so there is an alternate way to get it sorted. But yeah, that's tricky as well, because you then have to go grind essentially in order to do that. And
and it's not easy to just warp across the map and find like a grinding area and come back to that boss. Like it's pretty linear in the sense that, like, unless you want to do some heavy exploration or you're late game and have unlocked some means of getting around better, like it's hard work. Like a lot of this game is tough, and they definitely want it to be tough.
How have you found the lack of like a helpful map of any kind? Because there is a map which I ended up getting at some point. It doesn't fucking help you at all because it just shows you the overworld.
I like that map. Supposedly you can upgrade that map. That is possible.
You can, and I did upgrade it, but it doesn't do. It doesn't make it that much more helpful. It basically shows you like objects and how many you are missing and all that sort of stuff. So
I don't think the world's very dense. I don't think the world is that big, and I think the world is very well designed in that you play through an area, but on the way back, you're basically cutting down all these Souls-like shortcuts that make getting back to the area you've been incredibly fast. And I don't know, the bit so far what I've played, my map knowledge, my knowledge of where I'm meant to go is been pretty good in terms like, right, yeah, that links to this. Okay, I remember that links to that. Right. Oh, dead end here. Right. Okay, that links. I think I've just played enough games where that level, or at least I've gotten lucky, it's just been manageable so far with no map. I do like the map you do get. I just like knowing in terms of like, oh yeah, this area
like relative position, basically.
Yeah, relative position and what I've done, what I've not done, and that you can see.
It does help at the end of the game where you're like, where actually do I need to go for this? And it's interesting. I would say like, you know, our first time playthrough, there are kind of 4 areas you could do, and then there's 2 areas that need very specific things that you actually can't access until you know those specific things you need, basically. Okay. So, so you can't really, I wouldn't say you could stumble into 2 of the areas, basically, but I'd say there are 4 from the start that you could possibly get to and end up doing. So, yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty
impressed.
You
what weapon did you choose at the beginning of the game?
I knew you'd think I'd probably choose the ranging mace, but I was like,
no, I thought you would choose daggers.
Yeah, I went daggers. The daggers are good. Like I like the daggers. Like I think the biggest issue with the daggers is, unlike Link's sword in Zelda, like his sword does a little arc. The dagger does 0 arc whatsoever, but does quite a long poke in a straight line. So yeah, did you go for the mace, and how did you find that?
Of course, I'm a Castlevania boy. I'm always going to pick the whip every day, all the time, constantly, non-stop. Yeah, I went for the mace, and I find the interesting thing, because I've heard a lot of people talk about like, oh, and then I got this, and I switched to this weapon, and then I swapped between this weapon. I didn't change it the whole game. I was the mace the entire time, never even thought about using another weapon. Like, it was not even...
Maybe another weapon might have been better on that final boss.
Maybe, I don't know. But the problem is I had upgraded the whip twice, because I had got 2 of the upgrades that you get across the game.
Oh yeah, you can get moves for them and things. Okay.
And so none of my other ones had any of those upgrades. So I was like, well, that's not really going to help me that much, is it? So yeah, I definitely benefited from that to some degree. But yeah, the whip was great. I enjoyed it. I think the range was good for me. And in terms of like, you know, having the ability to hit people across gaps. So, like, you stand on one side of a space and you use the whip to hit someone over the side. Very, very helpful. And, yeah, I just like... I think also, because I played Pipistrello earlier this year, and that's a yo-yo, it felt quite familiar. I was also very shocked the degree to which this game and Pipistrello are so similar, in the sense of... they both have the exact same idea, where you need like a hub area in order to like heal yourself and like do upgrades and all this sort of stuff. It's the exact same thing, where in Pipistrello you go underground and you have this hub that you can save room area that you can access everything and all your stuff from. And Mina's the exact same. It's like an underground laboratory where you go and you change your weapons, you do all your stuff, and it kind of acts as a save point, but also like a reset kind of healing point as well. And I find it so interesting that these games are taking very different approaches from like a dungeon perspective and overall perspective, but from like certain aspects, there's so many similarities between them. And ultimately, I actually come down liking Pipistrello more, which I did think, you know, before this game came out, I was saying, oh, Pipistrello, bet it's going to destroy Mina, no one's going to see it coming. And that was somewhat in jest, because I knew that Mina was going to be extremely popular and a lot of people were going to enjoy it, and no one really knows what Pipistrello is because it's not very popular. But I come down on liking that game more, and part of it is because the structure of this game, ultimately, I would say, is not very Zelda, because I don't think these are dungeons. These areas are ultimately long stretches of traversal and puzzle solving and combat, and there's never a I need a key to get in here type of situation. Now, there are keys, they're called gears, right? Yes. They're keys which are gears, which you can use to unlock optional areas, but Mina structurally feels much more like a Souls game than a Zelda, because it is about traversing through a really long space and then eventually you're like, oh, here's a boss, and it doesn't feel like it's led up to necessarily, because there's no delineation between the outside space and the presumed inside dungeon, where Pipistrello is so clear about that, of like, you're entering a dungeon and you are doing this, and there will be keys and locks, and you will figure out that puzzle, and you can compare that so much more to A Link's Awakening than you can to Mina. Definitely. Because Mina ultimately is very different.
It does make Mina feel a lot more Metroidvania-y, and then especially like a very Souls-like Metroidvania, a bit like a Silk Song. Like, it's not that dissimilar. I feel, in pacing to a Silk Song.
No, you're right. I think there's definitely more similarities there for sure.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed that though?
And it's got that like brutal second to fourth hour, I would say, which is what I certainly found. Sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, have you enjoyed that kind of like aspect of it? Like, did it surprise you? Because I almost came into this thinking it would be a bit more delineated, structured like that, and I think the first areas are a bit more like that, where it like feels like, oh, maybe I am entering like a dungeon like space. I think the only point at which you realize this is the space where something important is happening is there is a cutaway like pixel art screen of like Mina looking towards the horizon of this new area that she's entering,
right,
and then it's like, right, now you're into that area, off you go. Now
the area and dungeon are very linked in a way they're not the same degree in most Zelda games. I get that. I don't mind it, because I still feel like I'm doing lots of puzzles through these dungeons, even if they are not like, this key leads to here, this key leads to here, in a kind of traditional Zelda way, and that's fine. Like, I think that is just doing something different. I think it ultimately conjures the same feelings, right, to some degree, but it's not quite as... I must admit, I am very nervous about what you said about like the ending, and you just got frustrated and you're like, right, I'm just gonna put on invincibility, even though it sounds like you were like basically fully upgraded. That is like making me very nervous.
I wasn't just fully upgraded. I was fully upgraded +1, because I had the trinket that increased my attack and defense. And now, like, here's the thing. I had a chat with Matt Lorigan afterwards, and
he was like, oh yeah, breeze through it, yeah.
Yeah, classic. Yeah, too good. No, but he was saying, because the thing that I was concerned about is that there's a multiple phase final boss, because of course there is.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm going to have to do this, and then if I die, I'm going to have to start on this again. And then he told me afterwards, no, actually, there's a checkpoint between that and the other phase. And I was like, oh, shit, I probably could have done it then. And I think, like, right, I probably could have pushed through and done it, but, like, I think part of it was also driven by, I wanted to finish this by the time we recorded, and I was out all day today. And so yesterday I was like, I kind of just want to be done with this and be finished. So there was a little bit of that driving it as well, of like, oh, I don't want to sit here for another hour and a half trying to learn this boss fight that has, frankly, a couple of really annoying things about it that I was just getting pissed off by.
I've enjoyed the couple of bosses I've fought so far. I've enjoyed learning the phases and getting better, and I think the first one I did, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. Second one was like 6, 7, 8, and that was satisfying. Like, I definitely enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with the power curve stuff, because I did end up doing a couple of those bosses first time, and I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't too hard. Basically, it just kind of worked.
You picked the correct route, but hopefully, I'll get my easy dungeon at some point. It has to come. I can't keep.
I think I probably did the expected path of the game. Is probably what I ended up doing. Really? I did look stuff up a little bit to be like, oh, what is the area?
Did you follow what the newspapers were telling you?
A little bit,
okay.
Yes.
I didn't do that for the second. I think that's why I found that a really tough area.
Yeah, at least I tried to, but like there was an area where I was like, I have no idea how to get here, so I'm just going to go somewhere else, basically. But it ended up working out, I guess, overall, in terms of just the general difficulty curve of it, and making sure that it wasn't like overbearing the whole time. And yeah, I don't know, it's a really weird difficulty, because like halfway through the game I was like, the fuck are people talking about? This game's quite easy, actually. Like, I'm actually having no trouble at all. And I was like kind of cruising through areas, not really taking too much damage, beating people pretty easily. And I think, felt like I was ahead of the level curve. And yeah, I think by the end, it definitely funnels you back. And I think the thing that annoys me about it really is like those end game enemies. I'm still having to hit them 4 times for them to die. Okay. I'm like, but I upgraded myself.
Are you sure you couldn't have leveled up your sword anymore? It does like
max. It literally, the game says max, basically.
Okay. Interesting.
And after you hit, because I got like 12,000 bones after I had maxed out, and it wouldn't even let me put them into a bonus stone thing. I had to go.
Geez.
I was on the final dungeon, and I was like, I have 12,000 bones. I'm just gonna go back to town and spend all of them because there was a bunch of items that I didn't have yet.
Yeah.
Part of that was also like, I love the shop with the giant arm, the huge person
Yes.
who lives in there, and you never see their head. And has this happened to you where you've walked past and the arm grabs you and takes you inside the shop? Because that happened to me, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And they're like,
I have seen the head. They bring the head. The head comes down sometimes, but yeah.
oh, does it?
Very
Oh, okay. I've
rarely,
never seen that. I've never seen that. But like, I walk past. Sometimes the hand bursts out of the ceiling and is just like hanging there.
Yeah.
There was one time that I walked past and they just grabbed me and took me in the shop, and they're like,
the
"Please spend
town
some
is
money."
really well designed, and I do like the way it kind of gradually opens up. Like there's a lot to uncover there. I think that's what's impressed me the most so far is I feel quite rewarded for my very slow level of gameplay, and I like to try and explore to within a degree. And I feel like every time I'm taking a long time doing something, I feel like I've gained something for it. Like I've found some trinket or an ability or some more bones, or like there's always something, and it does feel like just layer upon layer of discovery that everything comes together to make you stronger and ultimately take on the game better, which I love as well. Like it's all just well put together.
I think so. I think, for all its kind of like old school design tendencies, there's definitely a lot of modern stuff in here and a lot of thought that has been put into where things are hidden and the satisfaction of finding that stuff and figuring out a mini puzzle and like having a really good reward for it. I think that stuff is very well observed overall and like, well put together. That said, I do think that like the back half of this game feels like a Zelda game to some degree, where it's like, okay, before you can do final stuff, go and do this shit, which is like, there's an area you can't access without basically having to like backtrack across the whole world again, and that gave me big Wind Waker fucking go around the ocean, get the map vibe.
Right.
Where, especially because there is fast travel and you can access it, but it doesn't help in this sense because you're looking for a very specific thing in all these places. And what I honestly did was I just found a YouTube video that was like, location of this stuff, go do it. And so I put on a podcast and I just did it. It didn't take too long, to be honest, because what you find out after having gone through an area and like being meticulous and picking it clean and getting all the bones, if you just run through an area, it doesn't actually take that long, except for one area that's near the kind of like, I think it was the third area that I did in the game. That area, I was like, this is really fucking long. And in order to get to the place I needed to go, it was a struggle of like going through all these areas that I've already been to and just kind of repeating stuff again. So yeah, there's definitely, if you're not paying attention and you don't know exactly what you need for like kind of these final parts of the game you have to do, there is a good amount of backtracking. And I said to you as well, you will need that fucking train to be active. So spend money on it throughout the game because you can't beat the game without having it active, essentially. So,
right.
There's those two things, those kind of like slightly grindy things. I don't know, they aren't the worst thing in the world, but they do annoy me from the sense of like, I kind of just want to finish the video game, and the video game won't let me finish the video game because it has this arbitrary thing that I have to do in order for me to be able to do that. And it's my least favorite type of design, is when, same with Metro Prime 4, it's like, well, go get all the juice. And luckily, I liked collecting the juice, so I was fine. But everyone else was very pissed off about collecting all the fucking green crystals across the world. So it's a little bit similar to that. It's a bit more interesting, but that sort of stuff. I just don't know why it's in video games. Honestly, like a lot of the time, it just feels like it's padding out time and length for no good reason. So yeah, that would be the only thing that like kind of like got me down. But to be fair, I actually, because I was enjoying playing this game so much, I found a really good grind spot for bones. And I actually just like spent 40 minutes just grinding bones listening to a podcast because I was like,
yeah, it's definitely worth it. Yeah,
it's worth it. And I did this with Elden Ring. I do it with a lot of Souls games and stuff like that, where if I'm enjoying the game so much that I'm like, yeah, I'll just sit here and grind so I can get stronger and get all this good stuff. That's what I'll do. And so I did that in one particular area, and then I was able to go back to town, buy a bunch of stuff, and feel good about it, and have a much more well-equipped character, having spent the time doing it. But then also being able to progress the game further and do what I needed to do. So, yeah, Really, really good. And overall, just a really, really interesting game to release in this year, just based on the Game Boy aesthetic and how out of vogue it is. Like, we just don't see games that look like this anymore. And we see loads of pixel art games, right? Loads of old school platformers or adventure games or Zelda type games, but nothing that is aping the exact style of the Game Boy Color in particular. Pipistrello is interesting because that is more GBA, actually. It's more Game Boy Advance. It's much more advanced from a graphics pixel art standpoint. And this is taking like the low color palette, kind of like engine of the Game Boy Color and applying it with a very modern lens to it. Have you been playing on TV or handheld? What's been the way?
100% handheld.
Same. Yeah. The reason for that is I tried it on the TV and I was like, I actually can't read anything here because it's just too... It's like the Game Boy aesthetic blown up on a big screen is really hard to engage with. I think Andy Cortez from Kind of Funny said that he was playing it in a small window on his PC most of the time because playing it on the full monitor just felt wrong, basically, just because of the way that it looks and the perspective you're supposed to look at it from. This is definitely like one of the best like reasons to play a Switch 2 indie is because it actually looks way worse on a TV screen than it does handheld. Handheld, it looks great because I think like that distance from your face and the size of the screen and everything just feels perfect. So yeah, it was it made a lot of sense to play it on the system and also just to have that benefit to it, really. So nice. Yeah, I thought that was very good. Cool. Any other thoughts, Bally, that come to mind? I think the plan is that we'll kind of talk more in depth next time on like specific spoilers of the game and like
order we did
kind
things.
Of areas. Yeah, that sort of stuff we can do next time. But yeah, any kind of closing thoughts here, Bally? And
you have made me more excited to play more. I'm still really scared about that final boss, but I
think it's fine. I think the thing about it, right, is because because this isn't Kingdom Hearts 3, they have all these accessibility features that you can just turn on whenever you want. And so, even if you wanted to because one of the things I could have done, which I did do in Pipistrello actually, because that also has accessibility features, is I could have just increased my damage output and made it not as grindy in terms, and been like, oh no, this is where I think my attack level should be at based on all the, upgrades that I have gotten and everything. And that might have actually been a better way to do it because it would have felt like a less spongy boss fight and I would have felt more rewarded. So I don't know, I think I just did the cheap thing because I was like, what's the easiest way to get through this shit? I'm just going to be invincible and I'll just go through it. And that second phase, especially of the boss fight, well, apparently the second phase of the boss fight has a thing to it that I totally missed, and Matt was like, oh, did you not do this? And I was like, I just spam it at that point. I was trying to get through it, and he was like, oh, you could do this and it goes much faster. And I was like, oh shit, okay, well, I guess I just ignored that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think honestly, I think you'll be fine if you just have the patience with it. I just lack the patience, and yeah, I think there's ways that you can get through it without having too much trouble. But yeah,
bring it on. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. And you're far more persistent than I am.
Oh,
you give up far less easily
than
I
do. Wall. There's nothing I love more.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell you what, talking about banging the head against a brick wall, Bally Jr. is getting that game of grit, let me tell you. He is defeated all by himself the third boss in Astrobot, the snake boss, which is quite a bit tougher than the octopus or the gorilla.
Remind me what the snake boss does again?
So the ability that you have is the chicken to go up vertically, and the snake boss will drop enemies, and then it basically swings its tail across the stage. You have to chicken hop over the tail, and then the tail runs past you at high speed, and you have to punch the blue rings on the tail, and then it reveals its chin, and you use the chicken up into the chin. It brings poison onto the level, and with a couple of levels that you then have to chicken up onto the levels to avoid the poison, and then
this is pretty involved. Yeah,
there's a lot, and that is like running through his head, and he's like learning the phases. I said, all right, let's watch a little bit of that, because he was basically struggling with it yesterday. He was getting really frustrated, but he was getting pretty close, and I was like, you can do this. Like, honestly, like, why don't we watch some Zach Scott, watch him do it? And then I said, do you want Daddy to like talk you through? I can like tell you
coaching session. Yeah.
I can like coach you through it and say, like, right, this is coming, do that. And he said, he was like, yeah, Daddy, you talk, but then don't talk. Like he really wanted to like do it. He's like,
okay.
you coach me, but then don't coach me. Like don't
I
tell
need to
me
lock
it's coming.
in.
Yeah.
He's like, I need to lock the fuck in.
Yeah,
So
I need to lock in.
anything,
All right.
yeah.
And we came back to it today, and he did it first time. Like the whole boss
Hot
fight.
damn!
Just first
Look at
time.
that.
It was like, man, just going away, getting calm, running through the motions in your head, like knowing what to do. And he came back and did it, and like, yeah, still 4 years old. And then he went on and beat the Uncharted level by himself and loved it. And I said, this is from a game that you can play when you're old. And he's like, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing Uncharted. Like he was really excited about Uncharted. Yeah. And he like knows about Loco Roco and God of War. And yeah, so he's, yeah, Astrobot still doing well with Bally Jr. But yeah,
pretty good video game.
It's
yeah.
It is too good for someone's first platformer. That game is too good as an introduction to the genre.
Yeah. Great. Well, that's going to do us for this podcast episode. Of course, you can find us all over the place on the internet doing various things. And you can support the show if you so wish by going to patreon.com/ThisNintendoLife. Bally would like to thank some of our supporters.
Yes, we have a brand new patron. That's Ed E. Thank you so much for your support, but thank you to our $10 tier plus patrons. They are Sullivan C, Zach S, Thomas, Matthew, Albert, Wicked Gamer UK Alan, Orange Thunder, Nintendo Man, Turtle, and Dancer. Thank you so much for all your support, and thank you also to all of our other patrons. We really appreciate all the support you give the show. We covered all the Nintendo conferences. I say what a dated word. Conferences, like live streams, showcases.
The press conferences.
So we had press conferences. So yeah, we had State of Play, Xbox Showcase, and SGF. We talked about all our thoughts on those in the latest episode for June. So make sure you check that out if you want to for a single $1.
Yeah, good stuff. You can find us on various places. We're on Blue Sky. I'm at NBZ. Where are you, Bally?
On Blue Sky at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN91.
Great. And you can also find the podcast on there as well at TNL Podcast. Has links to our Discord, YouTube channel, etc., which should also be in the show notes if you so wish to check those avenues out. Also, but of course, you can subscribe to us on any podcasting feed that you like. We're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher. You can go to your Apple Podcasts as well. You can download us there. You can every couple of weeks sit on your ass and wait for it to download for you, and you don't need to do anything. It does it. It's amazing technology. It will just download it for you. I actually don't do that. Me and Bally tend to like custom download our own podcast, but I know that there's technology that lets you just have it automatically download as soon as it pops in there. I've got I've got a fridge manage here. All right, I mean I ain't letting the computer do it for me. So yeah, that's good stuff. And yeah, it's gonna be a Nintendo summer. We're getting lots of releases coming out here. Like I said, Elliot is out this week. I'll be playing that, so we'll talk about that next time. Might check out the Star Fox demo. I don't know if I'll pick up the full game, but I'll play the demo for sure. And then after that, we got Rhythm Heaven. So I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be very good stuff, and we'll be here talking about all of it, breaking it down, and discussing all the video game stuff that we enjoy. But I think that is going to be everything. Thanks everybody for listening. Before we go, Bally, if people want to send an emails, we didn't do emails this time, where can I send those emails to?
Please email thisnintendolife@gmail.com. That is thisnintendolife@gmail.com.
Great. And you can obviously head over to the Discord and leave some questions there as well.
Final point, MZ. Have you watched any World Cup?
I didn't realize the World Cup was happening until my sister told me about it today.
Jesus Christ.
So I am so unplugged into any of that stuff happening. I knew something was happening. I know more about the Knicks than the World Cup because that is most of my social feed.
Okay, Knicks, their thing.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, them winning. Yeah.
So this is why I'm more American than British, Bally, at the end of the day. I didn't even realize it was happening.
You must know the Knicks because you're a big Friends fan.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
No, it's a big deal because Scotland are at their first World Cup since 1998. And I didn't actually remember the World Cup in 1998. I was too young. And this is also the first match. They didn't win any matches in 98. So this is the first match. They beat Haiti, and that was the first match they've won in the World Cup in my lifetime, and also
It's crazy.
my two sons' lifetime, although their life is very much shorter than mine so far. So yeah,
They're kicking off their Scotland fandom very early there. That's pretty good stuff.
It doesn't help that all the games are basically after their bedtime, but yeah, I'm staying up late for them. So yeah, I stayed up. I had a tactical nap, and then woke up at 1 a.m. to watch a game at 2 a.m. Finished at 4 a.m. Went to bed at 5 a.m. Woke up at 8 a.m. and that did not feel like 7 hours sleep. So yeah, I had to have another nap today. But
I did wonder because I got a message from you at 1:20 a.m. yesterday,
Yes.
and I was like, "Why was Bally awake at 1:20? I think he thought he needed his sleep."
I was ready for the footy, ready for the football.
Great. Well, good luck to Scotland. I hope that they win at least one
We've got
more
Morocco
match,
next, and then Brazil. So yeah, it's
bro, easy Brazil,
work,
no problem.
Hard work.
That's fucking.
Get this right. Everyone in the group has played one game. Morocco and Brazil drew with each other. So Scotland are top of the group. You heard it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Wow. Definitely get a picture of that and frame it on your wall because that'll never happen again. So yeah, amazing stuff. Great. Well, that'll do us. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back next time. Until then, enjoy playing video games and we'll talk to you about them soon. Goodbye. The musical interlude used on today's show was Lost Woods from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, copyright Nintendo, 1998.